What's up, guys? Crypto Muser here with your daily news and analysis in the crypto markets. Now, today we have another green day to start the week off here on Monday. Bitcoin battling with that 43,000 mark here. Hopefully we get above there, maybe test 44,000. In my last video, I kind of said that it would be nice to see Bitcoin, test that 44,000, maybe get rejected there, and then range in that 44 to 40,000 range until we get to more momentum and go on our next leg up. But another thing I want to point out is XRP down here, 77 cents, up almost 15% on the day. Definitely the biggest earner of the day right now, by far. I don't know, signs, I don't know why it's pumping, but maybe the settlement and the lawsuit looming, there's definitely been some positive news as of late, so that's definitely great to see. The markets just started this week, so hopefully we have a nice week, maybe get another leg up to for Bitcoin, maybe up to 44 or 46, maybe test those 48, 50,000 mark. We never know, right? We still could get rejected at 44 and then head back down, but right now it's just good to see that we're ranging in that 44 to 40,000 range, and it's been holding strong. I mean, through the weekend, which is usually really volatile. Bitcoin kind of held its own. It sat there at 41,000, 41.6 for a little bit, and then pumped up to 42.6, and then back down. It was a little volatile, but it held its own, which is good to see. We didn't break below 40,000, which is a very good sign. So, like I said, we'll see what happens during the week here. Hopefully, this continues on, and the next couple months will be an uptrend. We've battled this terrible downtrend for the last month and a half, 2 months. It's good to see that there's some light at the end of the tunnel here, and Bitcoin and crypto is getting a little pump here. And now we have, the Super Bowl commercials coming up this weekend. We have the executive order coming maybe this week, next week. So maybe we'll get some news, some positive news to give this some momentum too. So we will see how this week pans out. But moving on to the video I wanted today, guys. So I don't know if you saw in the news, but the U.S. debt just got to $30 trillion. And, $30 trillion is like, it may be hard to fully understand how large of a number that really is. And I found this video that really breaks it down. It puts it in a better visual perspective so you guys can actually see how big of a number this actually is. So let's just watch this video, and then I have another video after that to show you how serious this is. Okay, so let's watch this real quick. Kind of depressing, guys, right? I mean, Oh man, to see, a couple years ago, even just in the last 3 years, due to the COVID scare, right? I think it went from 26 trillion to 30 trillion, right? We printed basically, or we added 4 trillion to the debt in about a year and a half. And these numbers, like, people don't get how high these numbers are. This is not like something we can just slowly, get back to even here. I mean, $30 trillion is too much money, right? Now, I have this other video. This is Mike Maloney, and I don't know if you guys know who he is, but you guys should definitely watch his videos. He breaks down the broken financial system that we have in many videos, and he's been doing it for years. But he had just put out this video about the national debt and how just how bad it is for our future, for our country. And I'm not going to watch it, just going to do the second half of the video, but I implore everybody to definitely go watch this full video because it really breaks it down to just show you how how bad of a spot we actually are. And there's only one way this thing ends, and it's not good, guys. I hate to say it. The fact that the Federal Reserve and the economists and the people at power have put us in this position is really gut-wrenching. And the fact that we're going to have to dig ourselves out of this somehow, or the market is just going to basically collapse on top of us. It just, like I said, it doesn't end well. And let's just watch this second half of the video here, and then we can close out this video. So let me just make this bigger and check this out, guys, because unbelievable what he says here.
I want to go to the chart that I just made of federal debt, total public debt. But this chart, it's quarterly information, and the last report is Q3 of last year. So they don't even have the 20. This wasn't up to $29 trillion yet, but it shows some of the insane growth. And if you look at the amount of this that is being funded by currency creation, you have to go to this chart that I generated called collateralization of currency. So when the Fed buys a bond, they have to create the currency to buy it with, and that is collateralization of currency, memo items, total U.S. Treasury debt, agency debt, and mortgage-backed securities Wednesday level. So every Wednesday they report this. And what I find interesting when I look at this, there's a few other facts that stand out. It's now 8.379 trillion is where this graph is at. And that is up 1,540% since 2009. And last year, the increase was almost 23%. So remember this 23% number. The other number is 1,540%. These are mind-boggling numbers. But 23% in a single year is a very important number, and I'll get to that in a minute. And if you look at the rate of growth, I went to a compounding calculator, so you can ignore total interest and stuff like that. What I was interested in is what is the percent of annual growth. So from 2009, when it was 825 billion, to today's almost 10 times more at 8,377, more than 10 times more, I'm sorry, 8,377 billion. It's an effective annual rate of 10.14% when it compounds out. This is printing currency at that rate. So unless the economy grows at that rate or faster, this has to cause inflation. And we've had troubles with GDP growth recently, as you know. The collateralization of currency, though, like I said, just last year was 23%. So now I want to go to bank reserves because reserves of depository institutions, bank reserves, the Federal Reserve just gives it a more confusing name for everybody. And you can see that from the 1960s, when it was about $20 billion, was all that the banks needed to do all of their interbank settlements and have the books still balance at the end of the day, and nobody was insolvent. To a peak of about 60 billion and then back down to about 40 billion before the 2008 crisis. And then you see this tremendous explosion, and that explosion is now bank reserves.
Just want to say real quick, guys, you see this graph right here? So from 1960 to basically 2008, the Federal Reserve had a level set of bank reserves, amount of money that they basically could use to keep the national debt stable, right? The fact that after 2008, they just decided to run the printer. Basically, they just decided, screw this. We're gonna make money. We're gonna basically start handing out money to each other until this thing collapses. Is exactly what they did. And you could see in 2011 or wherever this was. This is probably 2015 or so. It looked like some of them, they were trying to do something, but then they were like, screw it, let's just keep printing again. Like, do you see the level of just like stupidity, or just like they didn't care? They just didn't care, and they don't care still. Look where we're at now. I mean, look at since the C19 scare. We've just been like, they just gave up. They gave up on trying to fix this, and they're just like, you know what? We're just gonna print this till the thing collapses. Just wanted to point that out real quick.
0.188 trillion. So that is up 10,370% since 2007. And these are sad. I can't help but laugh, because I'm laughing at the stupidity of these arrogant economists that are steering the Federal Reserve and the economy and making all these choices for us. It's not possible for something like this to end well. This has to end badly someday. We just don't know what day that's going to be. But the more out of control this gets, so it's up. They've added 10,000% to it. It grew at 33.6% last year. So remember that figure. We've now got the collateralization of currency going up 23% last year. The bank reserves going up 33.6%. Now, bank reserves are so that the banks can do all of this interbank settlement at the end of the day, because basically every bank is sort of broke. They've already all got to loan each other and borrow currency from each other at the end of the day. And in 2019, you remember the repurchase agreements, the crisis in the repo markets. There was this giant crisis that was papered over. They wouldn't tell us what happened. Pamela and Russ Martinson have done a phenomenal job of investigative reporting on this. But even when you use the base figure, I'll put up a chart of that here, and the Fed calculates this at about almost half $500 billion. It's 445 billion, I think, is the peak there. But it's actually about 4.5 trillion when you look at the trades on the New York Fed's. When it became publicly disclosed finally, which happened just toward the end of last year, it was publicly disclosed. But so that got papered over. That means that with 10,000% more reserves than they had before the crisis of 08, the banks, this still isn't enough. The banks get into trouble where they're going to be insolvent, and there's going to be a banking crisis, and everything is going to freeze up and fall apart globally. And the Fed has to come in and add another, so right now it's at 4.5 trillion, but in that repo market, which is not covered by the bank reserves chart, in that repo market, they temporarily added another $4.5 trillion worth of loans to the banks. It just shows you how fragile this system is becoming. So back to the national debt. The national debt in Q1 of 2020 was 23.2 1.224 trillion. And at the rate that it has been growing, though, since it rolled over to 29 trillion December 15th, exactly 7 weeks later, on February 2nd, it hit 30 trillion, and that is about 3.5% difference divided by the 7 weeks comes out to about 0.5% per week, or 26% per year. Now, if you go to Wikipedia and you take a look at the definitions of hyperinflation.
This is the very interesting part.
Hyperinflation, there's a bunch of definitions. There's some definitions that say it has to exceed 50% per month. However, the International Accounting Standards Board says that hyperinflation happens when there's a cumulative inflation rate over a 3-year period that exceeds 100%. So what is that per year? Well, I went to a compounding interest calculator to see what the rate of growth would have to be, and it turns out to be 25.9% annually, compounds out to $1 deposited at an annual interest rate of 25.9% ends up being $2, which is a 100% inflation after 3 years. And so when it comes to the national debt, we have already reached hyperinflation of the national debt. The collateralization of that debt is 23% of increase over the 26%. So the amount that is being funded by currency creation is about 23%. So that was all of last year. But when you annualize this 0.5% per week, that's 26%. So you're getting close to the Federal Reserve funding all of this reckless spending by just currency creation, and that is exactly what causes hyperinflation. Have you got any comments on that?
Wow, Mike, I've been doing a lot of nodding as you've been speaking here, and I saw you assemble these charts before we hopped on here together to start recording. That was just a masterful connecting of the dots that you have there. I hadn't even come to the conclusion that you just pulled out there in terms of the hyperinflationary rate that we're at right now. That, I think, Mike, is maybe the best argument I've ever heard you make for why owning precious metals is so important right now from a wealth protection.
Just wanted to show you that end part there when he talks about buying precious metals. Yeah, for sure. After watching that video, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go buy some gold and silver. Not financial advice, but I mean, guys, do you see how he broke that down there? The government and the Federal Reserve, this is not slowing down. This is only going to get worse and worse. The fact that we're already at 30 trillion, right? And we were at 26 trillion a year and a half ago. When it's compounding 26% every year, this is not going to end well. There's no way it ends well. So the fact that, that guy said at the end there to probably hedge against this and buy some precious metals, crypto for sure wouldn't be a bad option either because, it would crash in the short term. But I think that the cryptocurrency market would bounce back faster than traditional markets if the market had a huge crash, which, how can people say that there's not going to be a crash? I mean, yeah, they can keep doing this for another 6 months, a year, 2 years, but at some point it will crash. So it's like, it's inevitable, right? It's going to happen sooner or later. So getting your ducks in order and figuring out how are you going to hedge against this is probably your best bet, right? Like I said, you don't know when it's going to happen, but you know it's going to happen. So, like I said, not financial advice, but I would be trying to hedge against this in the future because, like I said, there's only one way this thing goes. I mean, the way he broke it down, when I watched this the other day, I was like, I knew it was bad. We all know it was bad, right? We know the national debt has been terrible. Everybody's gone to the debt clock, right? And you just see it ticking up, and you're like, this is not sustainable. How is this, and people just move on with their life. Like, people do not, and I feel like I saw this on the news. This was on the news. I don't really watch the news, but this was on the news for a second. and then it just glossed over to the next story, right? Like, this isn't important, right? This isn't an important story, right? Our national debt getting to $30 trillion, not a big deal. Not a big deal for us. Let's go on to the next movie star that's, married or divorced, and let's talk about that instead. So, just wanted to show you this video today because I know we talk about crypto a lot on this channel. We talk about different things, but I thought this was a big thing that no one was talking about. And I thought that Mike Maloney, like I said, I recommend watching his videos. He really breaks it down, just how our banking system and our financial system, currency system, has just been broken for a long time now. And like I said, it's just not going to end well, right? I mean, anybody with a brain can watch that video and be like, this is not going to end well. What can I do? So, like I said, maybe try to hedge against this happening in the future and know that this, like I said, it's very inevitable that at some point this, this structure that they created here, that the Federal Reserve and the economists that run the Federal Reserve, it's not going to end well. So, hate to be kind of depressing here in this video, but it is the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts. So, just want to bring this to you guys' attention today. Hope you like the content. Please like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notification. And please remember, I am not a financial advisor. Please do not take anything I write or say as financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. And thanks, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.